Hello everybody, Chaz Large here with another video for you, and yeah, it's another DAT repair. But I say another, in fact it's a very old DAT repair. This beastie, it's a Tascam DA-30 professional, I think you would call it, 19-inch rack mount, or is it wider, I don't know, but something like that. DAT recorder with lots of features and buttons and stuff all over it. And I bought this ages ago at a fairly knockdown price. I can't for the life of me tell you what it cost me off eBay, but it wasn't that much, because the metalwork here was all bent, which I managed to straighten out. So, or was it this corner? No, it was this corner here was all bent where it had obviously been dropped. And it basically, the tray wouldn't load or put a tape in, and if you managed to get a tape in, you'd have to manually dig it out. And I spent a long time doing repair on this and getting to the point where I needed to replace one of the ICs, and I put them on order, and I did actually get the ICs in, but for some unknown reason, changes in the home, whatever, long story short, basically this got put to one side in my storage room and forgotten about. And 21st of May 22 was the last time I looked at it, so 4 years ago. And I thought, right, let's dig it out, let's find that IC that I ordered, one of the drive ICs here, IC 464, which I think is that one, was what I diagnosed it down to. I've looked everywhere, I can't find the ICs that I bought, so I bought some more. So luckily, little diode, they're one of the suppliers off of eBay. You can get lots of stuff from, and I bought the same two ICs from them before, because I went back and there it was on the shopping list, so I knew I bought them. But I've put them away somewhere, so somewhere in all my drawers and boxes and whatever, there's another little packet exactly the same as that, because I remember it being that sort of style, with two ICs in, and that's where it's saved. So we're here, we are the 16th of May 2026. Let's see if replacing one of these chips does it. I'm not going to do a bit of diagnosis on this unless the chip doesn't fix it, so hopefully will be a quick take the board out, change the chip, put the chip back in, and the board back in, and fingers crossed it will work. The reason I say that is because I did a lot of checking out the logic of the different ins and outs of the motors, and I've got some of the motors to drive manually, so lots of reference information I did there, and I left two of the wires disconnected because I was putting bolts into there to drive the motor. So I'm going to put those two connections back. They're all marked up. I think I even got to the point where I serviced the deck as well. I cleaned it and got it all loading. So fingers crossed, if I just put those two in there and then try it just to make sure it actually is still going to come on, because it's a bit pointless changing the chip and then finding that the thing is still completely dead. And that's 4. Right, so let's put that back in there. So let's just hope it does still fire up, and no capacitors have dried out and are going to go flash bang wallop. Power. The lights come on. It's flashing open. Right, so that tray loads, but it doesn't go any further than that. It just does that all the time, yeah. So you've got two motors, as I seem to remember. Let's have a look on the overhead cam, make sure you can see this. There's two motors that drive, one that drives the tray in and out, which is this one, and then the one that drives the threading. But I think there's a third motor, if my memory serves correct. Yeah, there's a third motor down here, and it's that motor there that's not dropping the cartridge into it. So it drags the cartridge in, then another motor drops it down, and then a third motor threads it up. Let me just find my test cassette. Right, so this is a test cassette. It's a cassette that's broken. The tape's broken, so it should load it in. It just sort of drops in like that, and then that should take it in, but nothing happens. It doesn't go any further than that. Right, that is as I remember 4 years ago. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. Power it off, and let's change this IC 464, which is this close one here. So it's an IC with heatsink legs, the little flat plates which dissipate the heat. So I haven't even opened it since I bought them again, so hopefully it's a good chip. Take this board out, and I think to take this board out we have to take this little sub board out as well. Let's unplug it because it's a short mains lead. Okie dokie, I'll whiz through this bit. A lot of screening involved, so I did have to take that board out, so I probably didn't have to take all. Perhaps I never actually took this board out. It just seems odd. Right. Okay, right. Turn that round now. And the chip I have to replace is that one there. I think a desoldering station is going to be useful in that respect. So I'm going to use that. Right, it's up to 400 degrees. That should start desoldering already. Just triple check my notes. 464, which was the front one of the two, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, it's not coming away as cleanly as I would like. I think I'm just going to prep it with some new solder first. Right, soldered iron should be on now. I should be able to go along these legs and just solder them up. Where's my fan? That's better. Yeah, so I worked out the logic to drive this chip. So the inputs to operate the chip were there. It's just the outputs weren't doing what they should do. I drove the motors manually with a power supply. And they worked okay, so the logic was that the IC was faulty. Let's get it out and see what happens. Oh, they're not coming away cleanly, this IC. Right, well, I think it's got as much solder off those bits as we can. Let's just quickly go over those legs again. And see if I can just sort of get a screwdriver in there to just lever that chip slightly. If I have to go desoldering on the other side of the braid, just cut another bit of braid. Done. We have removed the chip. Let's just check around, make sure we haven't damaged anything. Can't see any damage, but there's solder clogging up that hole there. Always difficult when it's an earth ground plane. Only melted 2 wires so far, and I can tell I have because the smell of burning wire is getting my nose. Let's cut that and do another piece. So apologies if some of that's been out of focus, but I think we can see that that board is now clear. Now ready to insert a replacement. Okay, I think we just need to squeeze the legs together. Just squeezing it just gently to bring the legs up a little bit closer together. There we go. They're as close as I'm going to get, so I can push it in with a screwdriver into each of the holes. Triple check I've got it around the right way. One IC fitted. Well, inserted. Right, so clean the old solder line again. So trouble with my fan, it sits over there and I keep looking at it and think, oh, I should use the fan, and by which time I thought I must use the fan, I finished. So I'm just relying on my breath to blow the smoke away. Right. Yeah, the rest of those all look okay. Okie dokie. Desoldering iron off. Should have turned that off before, sorry about that. Right, let's just temporarily affix this board back into its place for ground purposes. Right, so far I think I have one cable which is mainly data and it comes off the head amplifier. Right, so that deck, and it's held in, there's a spring that pulls the deck sideways, or the tray sideways when it closes. Oh, and the drive belts have failed. Of course, it's been in storage. If the fault has been fixed, I hope it's been fixed, we should be better off than we were before. The deck should at least try and load. That cable is not going to make a lot of difference. Right, power on. And it drops. Yeah! That was the problem. Where's my tape gone? In. Oh. Isn't that dropping in? Right. So it's getting so far, but it's not taking it any further. So let's drive it manually and see if there's something stopping it. So there's little guides here and here, effectively bent bits of metal guide the tape in there. You should take it in. Well, that should now drop it down, which it does. Yes, it's funny it's not getting in far enough. Let's do it by hand. There you go. And play. Right. Now, head drum isn't spinning up.
"16 paranoia-filled days later."
Right, can't remember what it was where we were in the last time I looked at this. I'll have to see that in the editing. But been a couple of weeks at least since we last looked at this. I've replaced the drive chip. We've now got the up and down loading action. Basically, I think the problem at this point in time is the system switch on the deck. Something about what's happening with that going in and dropping down isn't happening that it does without a cassette in. Now, the other thing I noticed when I was doing this a little bit earlier is that I was putting my finger into here and the head drum suddenly spun, and I thought, is that to do with the sensors? Because the sensors for the leader of the tape are optical. And I thought, oh, but there's no LED in the middle like there is on like videotapes that operate on a similar system, because it relies on reflections rather than, you know, light going through. And then it suddenly started, the head started spinning on its own. And then when I took the tape out one time, the tape came out, and then the head spun while it was out. And I thought, what's going on here? And that suddenly started ringing alarm bells with me, thinking, if the deck doesn't know exactly where it is, then loading the tape in and down is not going to sort it out. It's going to be where the mechanism is just not quite seeing all the right timing signals at the right time. And I'm guessing, and because my other DAT deck that I worked on, when you put the tape in, the tape gets threaded round, but it also gets pulled a little bit by the take-up spool. So I think what should happen is it goes in and drops down, and then the tape spools turn a little bit, just to say, right, we've definitely got a tape in here. And it's not doing that, it's chucking it out. I think that's the way it's working. I can't find any information on the steps of the process. There isn't a timing chart that I could see in the manual, unless I'm missing it by scrolling past it or something. But generally speaking, there should be something that says this happens, this happens, this happens in this sequence for it to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm thinking it's to do with the actual mode switch of the deck is the problem, because in my previous videos that I shot before I put it away and then got it back out again, all the actual sensors around the deck, the switches and so on, I checked. They're all working, and we can say half of them are working already because we know what's happening. So I'm now going to take the tape out, the mechanism out again, and get at the mode switch, the little circular switch that says this is the deck is in this mode, this mode, this mode, and so on. So that's where we're going from this. So the deck comes out fairly easy. It's already covered in the previous video, so I'll cut now to where I've got the deck on the bench. Right, the deck is now out, and the item that we want to see on the exploded view of the service manual is item number 35. That's the system switch, and that system switch is, I believe, under here. I've not taken it out before. It's either under here or it's under here. I can't remember. I did identify its position. I'm not sure about there. So the system switch has got to be under here, then it's got to be in that area there. So to get at that, we've got one, two, three screws under there, and all these wires are tightly pulled on there. How much can we release, or do we have to cut the wires, etc.? Let's get my little fine Phillips screwdriver, which is just here. So the system switch is here, look. Here it is. Now, that's interesting. There is a hole there. That system switch is Put that back on there for a minute. It's governed by this lever moving across, I think. Yeah. So as the deck moves about, things like brake race and so on, in there, that moves this switch here, which is governed by this motor anyway. So what we've now got to do is to get that switch off, and it's held in place by those two screws, but there is that gear and that gear over the top of it. Now there's no irregularities of those gears, so I think if I take that gear off and release those two screws, I should be able to get that off. So I want a fine point screwdriver, finger on the top, fine point underneath that washer, and just prise it off. Try not to stab myself with this as well, because it's just a sharp point. Let's see if I can lever it against that post. Yeah, look at that. There it is. Let's put that into that pot. We should be able to just pop that gear off there. And now we should be able to remove these two screws. Yeah, now that's... Yeah, that should come out, because that wire's there. So if we unhook it from that little hook affair. One colour at a time should make life easier. And one screw there. Right, we'll get the other screw out of there. Now, I was hoping that there'd be enough leeway to get that switch out of there without having to take this panel off, but it looks like I've got to do that as well. There's the sensors underneath. Have I? Yeah, looks like I've got to take those off as well. there's another screw under there and there, so I can't flex it too much. So yeah, looks like I've got to take the two spool carriers off. One, spring underneath. Sorry if that went out of camera. Right, spool carrier on the left of it as I look at this, and the black washer on top of the spring, whereas the other one didn't have. It might be in there, so let's just try and keep those the same, and we can undo these 3 screws. Sorry, the final 2 screws of this board. That board should now lift. At least up enough. Bear in mind it's got wires attached to it that are under another wire hook. Let's take that board off of there carefully. And now we've got the mode switch out. It's still connected to that. So there we have the mode switch. And the mode switch is a complete device. I can feel it clicking as it turns around. So the only way to get this apart is 3 little welded bits on the top of that. This is where my little cutters come in handy at this angle. Now you could just slice them off, but then you've got nothing to move it down. If you squeeze it like this, you might be able to leave enough of it so when you put it back, you can just melt it with a soldering iron back into place. Ideal world, if this was still in production, you get a replacement switch. But in this instance, we ain't never going to get one of those unless we find another. Let's get another finer screwdriver. This one with a bit of an edge on it. And we should be able to just sort of go into the edge of this and carefully lever it away from that moulded thing. Be careful not to twist it too much because we don't want to break it, because if we break it, it's had it. We are done for. In which case we should be searching for spare parts. Second-hand units and so on. I just managed to get in there enough to open the edge enough to twist it a little bit. Okay, I think we are through enough. And there's our mode switch. And if we look at this, we can see quite clearly there is dirt on that area. Oh, sorry, gone out of camera shot, sorry about that. So we can see quite clearly there. Let me zoom in a little bit closer. Hopefully we're still in focus. Focus is going to be very flicky. Yeah, that's about as good as we can get. But that looks quite mucky dirty. And as the dirtiness is back at this end, this could be like one of the positions where it's saying, right, this is at the end, it should be at this point, and because it's not making contact, it doesn't know. So I say it doesn't know, that's the system doesn't know, not the switch. The switch knows nothing. It's an inanimate object, but isopropyl, just to get rid of the grease. Look at that. And the other thing I'm going to do is give it a little clean with a fibre pen. Oh, look at the shine on that now. Oh, I like that. I'm feeling very confident. Use the other side of the Q-tip with a little drop more isopropyl on. Clean the grease off. And fibre pen the tip of those. And then very, very gently, but not too harshly, put a screwdriver under that and just lift them up slightly. Just to give them a little bit more tension. And just check that they're all the same level. So that when we put it back on here, it makes a good solid contact, which it does. Now, can we, just before we put that back together, can we just tidy up the edges of these? I'm just going to switch the soldering iron on for a minute. Just taking off the little broken bits that come away, and hopefully luckily we've got an alignment peg on either side. Let's give it a good push in like that. Make sure it still turns, which it does. So hopefully that may have resolved the problem, but we won't know until we get it all back together. So that goes in there like so. Yeah, I can't remember which screws go where. Don't know, don't think it was those, was it? Oh, they're on down here, of course they are not. Don't think it was that one. Is it that one? Yeah, that was the other one, wasn't it? I've got a little alignment mark there, that's presumably for putting it back in. Let me put it back together. So now we have to put those two back in there. It was these three little screws, wasn't it? Oh, sorry. Just realised I've wandered completely off camera because I zoomed in so much. Apologies. So I've got the two screws back in there after I got that, and that's the alignment mark there that I was talking about. And then the third screw is this one here. Those wires all tuck under those. So let's just drop that tape into there without me pushing it. Drop it into there. And that's dropping down by itself without me having to push down on it. So this was obviously just slightly out of alignment, this tray there. Oh, now, do you know what? This is making me super confident this is going to work. So I'm going to put the cable tie on there like it was before. There we are. All cable tied nice and neatly again. Let's hope we don't have to take it apart again. Let's take off the excess. All the cables all go at the top. Oh no, those go in the bottom underneath. Like so. Stick goes in through the slot. It drops down. Two, three. Spring on the side, just gives you a little bit of tension. I guess that was a production mod. All the diagrams and that I've seen have all had them, so one screw on there, one screw. So we just need those two screws for now, so we can see if this is actually going to solve the problem or not. Power off, power on there, power on there. Deck should reset itself, which it does, and drops down. That goes out, deck open, tape in, drops down. It's working fine. It's working fine. Oh, I better turn the sound off because I don't want the content matches with Basher, do we? I'm overjoyed at this. So the original fault was that driver had stopped it putting the tape up and down, and the system switch had stopped it from being in the right mode, so therefore it didn't know where it was. Well, there we are, folks. So it's been a bit of a long-winded one, this one, hasn't it? Well, it's only taken 4 years. But yeah, I'm chuffed with this. I'll carry on doing some testing, but as far as I'm concerned, this is now working fine. And I got myself a nice DAT deck, so I can do my DAT editing with, because I still do some. So I do like DAT, and you do get a little bit better better audio sound with 48 kilohertz sampling frequency, and a lot of my tapes are on 48 kilohertz. So yeah, pleased. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. I have. I'm so pleased that it is actually now fixed, and it was a combination of things. Fingers crossed it will keep going. Take care for now. See you on the next video.